You think you know what it means to be silent and powerless? Think again. This is one of the most unforgettable black-voiced dramatic stories you'll ever hear. A quiet girl with a secret that changes everything. What happens when the bullied fights back with skills no one saw coming? Stay tuned. If you're ready for real, raw truth, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment below. Let's talk. Kesha Williams had never asked for trouble, but trouble found her the moment she stepped into Millbrook High's stark hallways, a place where she was one of the only black students, and an outsider in every sense. Inside her chest, a storm, brewed, a mixture of fear, frustration, and fierce determination. She was quiet, almost invisible, and yet carried a secret strength. 8 years of karate training that shaped her body into a weapon, her mind into a fortress. But Kesha kept that locked away, afraid that revealing her true self might only make things worse. Her first day started with whispers following her like shadows. She felt every stare, some curious, some cold, some filled with silent judgment. "New girl," they muttered. "She doesn't belong here." But Kesha kept her head high, shoulders squared, recalling her master's words. "Stand strong, show respect, but never weakness." Yet the bullies didn't care for respect. Derek Morrison, the school's unofficial kingpin, saw Kesha as nothing. More than an easy mark. When he blocked her path in the cafeteria, his voice was low, menacing. "We need to talk," he said, flashing a smirk that didn't reach his icy blue eyes. "What about?" Kesha asked, calm but alert. "It's simple. You pay the welcome fee, keeps you safe, keeps the trouble away." Kesha's laugh was soft but sharp. "I don't pay protection money." The room went silent. Derek's smile twisted into something cruel. "Everyone pays," he said. "The question is how hard you want to pay." Jake and Tommy flanked him, their sneers making Kesha's skin crawl. But she didn't flinch. She wouldn't, not here, not now. The harassment only worsened after that. Gum jammed in her locker lock, her notebooks stolen and mocked in the hallways, whispered insults carved into her back like invisible scars. One afternoon, Tommy waved her notebook above his head, mocking her handwriting. Kesha pulled out her phone and snapped a photo, her voice steady. "Evidence," she said. Tommy's bravado faltered, but only for a moment. "Whatever," he sneered, tossing the notebook at her feet. Each day was a battle, not just against them, but against the sinking doubt in her own heart. Was she strong enough? Could she survive here? Late at night, memories of Detroit flickered in her mind. The streets where she learned to fight not for glory, but for survival. The dojo where every punch, every kick was a lesson in control and respect. Her mother's voice echoed softly. "Remember, baby, strength is more than just power. It's knowing when to stand and when to walk away. But how do you walk away when they refuse to let you go?" The tension reached a breaking point on a Friday afternoon. The edited recording, a malicious remix making her sound hateful, had spread like wildfire. Derek laughed as the school turned against her. That evening, as Derek and his crew celebrated, Kesha's eyes burned with resolve. Tomorrow, everything would change, and it did. In the school parking lot, Derek and his 2 lackeys surrounded her, confident and cruel. "You think you're tough?" Derek sneered. Without a word, Kesha moved. Fluid, precise. Her training took over. She twisted Derek's wrist, sending him stumbling. Her elbow connected with a sharp strike to his ribs. Jake lunged, swinging wildly, but Kesha ducked and swept his legs out from under him. Tommy hesitated, the first crack in their bravado. The fight was brutal but calculated. Kesha wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every silent voice they tried to drown out. When it ended, Derek lay gasping, blood trickling from his nose, and a stunned crowd watched in silence. "Are we done?" Kesha asked. Her voice calm but fierce. Derek nodded, defeated. Word spread fast. Kesha was no longer invisible. She was a symbol, a spark igniting courage in others. Yet victory came at a cost. The bullies struck back with legal threats, twisting the story. To paint Kesha as the aggressor, the weight of the system bore down on her. A new battle, this time in the courtroom. Sitting beside her mother and lawyer, Kesha recounted the truth, each word a shield against the lies. She spoke of fear turned into strength, of pain turned into power. Outside, a community rallied, students, parents, teachers, all standing for justice. The trial was fierce. But truth, backed by videos and testimony, shattered the false accusations. When the judge declared Kesha innocent, the courtroom erupted in cheers. But more than a legal win, Kesha's journey became a beacon of hope, proof that standing up is worth every risk. She taught her peers to find their own strength, to rise beyond fear, to rewrite their stories. Because sometimes the quietest voice has the loudest roar. Marcus Thompson's perspective. The witness and ally Marcus Thompson wasn't one of the popular kids. He wasn't on any sports team, not in the band, nor part of any power group. Marcus was just an ordinary guy, observing everything from the sidelines with careful eyes and thoughtful mind. Kesha Williams was the one thing he couldn't look away from since the day she arrived at school. Not because she stood out loudly or because of her race, but because of an indescribable light she carried, something strong yet peaceful all at once. The first time Marcus saw Derek Morrison and his crew threaten Kesha in the cafeteria, he noticed the cold steel in her eyes, but also a fragile layer of fear beneath her calm exterior. In Marcus's heart, a question stirred. Could she hold on to that strength against the relentless storm she was about to face? In the following days, Marcus watched Kesha surrounded by cruel, petty attacks. Jammed locks, stolen belongings, whispered insults slicing like invisible wounds. He wanted to step in to help, but fear and doubt held him back. Could I really make things better without making them worse? He wondered again and again. Then came the shock that shook him deeply. The fake audio clip twisted to make Kesha sound hateful, turning many against her. Marcus felt a swell of anger and helplessness. He knew the truth. But how could he fight against a crowd deceived? When word spread that Kesha faced assault charges and would stand trial, Marcus's chest tightened. He knew she hadn't been the aggressor. She was defending herself and others. But the law was never simple. Inside Marcus, a fierce internal battle raged. He feared that if he stayed silent, Kesha would face the storm alone. But if he spoke out, would he become the next target? In the end, Marcus chose to act. He gathered friends who had witnessed the truth, recounting every detail, every act of bullying. Marcus's story was more than evidence. It was a voice for justice and unity. On trial day, standing before the crowd, Marcus felt the heavy weight of responsibility. Every word he spoke pierced the veil of lies. When Kesha took the stand, he saw hope and trust flicker in her eyes. After the verdict cleared Kesha, Marcus was filled with joy but understood the fight wasn't over. Changes at school and support groups were forming, the fruits of Kesha's courage and of everyone like Marcus, who refused to stay silent. He realized strength doesn't just come from punches or martial arts skills, but from connection, courage, and standing up for what's right. Marcus was no longer a passive observer. He became Kesha's ally, walking alongside her and other students to build a safer, hopeful school community. The morning air was thick with tension. Kesha Williams woke up with a knot in her stomach, a feeling she hadn't shaken since the edited recording went viral. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages, some full of support, others laced with venom. Derek Morrison's name trended alongside cruel accusations. The battle was no longer just physical. It had exploded into a public war. She stared at her reflection, the girl who had trained for years, the quiet warrior hidden beneath the surface. But now the world wanted her to be something else, an aggressor, a villain. The weight of expectation pressed down hard. Is this fight worth it? She wondered, the doubt creeping in like an unwelcome shadow. But as she prepared for school, a fierce resolve hardened inside her. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every voice silenced by fear, every student who had been pushed down and ignored. Stepping onto campus, the atmosphere was electric. Whispers exploded in every hallway. Eyes darted to her as if she were a storm about to break loose. Derek's glare was sharp, his entourage tight behind him like a pack of wolves. The cafeteria, once a battlefield of silent intimidation, had transformed into a gladiator arena. Derek's voice cut through the chatter. "Time to end this, Kesha." The room fell dead silent. Kesha's heartbeat thundered in her ears, but her stance was steady. She met his cold gaze without flinching. "I'm done running," she said, voice calm but charged with power. Then came the moment of truth. The challenge Derek had been building towards, the inevitable confrontation. As he lunged forward, Kesha's years of training surged through her veins. She dodged with fluid precision, twisting away from his grasp and striking with calculated force. Each blow was more than physical. It was an expression of every insult, every act of cruelty she had endured. The fight wasn't just about dominance. It was about reclaiming her dignity. Jake and Tommy charged next, wild and desperate. Kesha ducked under Jake's wild swing, swept his legs out from under him, and spun to land a sharp elbow to Tommy's ribs. The crowd gasped, but the fight was brutal and unforgiving. Derek's size and rage were terrifying, but Kesha's skill and control were unmatched. She moved like water, flowing around their attacks and striking when openings appeared. Amid the chaos, her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. If I win, will they stop? Or will this only make it worse? What if I get hurt? What about Mom? But if I lose? What happens to all of us? The fight pushed her to the edge, every muscle burning, every breath a battle. Yet beneath the pain, a deep calm settled, the clarity that this was her moment. Not just to survive, but to change everything. When Derek collapsed, gasping in defeated, silence enveloped the crowd. Kesha's chest heaved, but her eyes burned bright. "Are we done?" she demanded. Derek nodded, defeated, but hatred still simmered in his glare. Word of the fight spread like wildfire. Kesha became a lightning rod, lauded by some as a hero, vilified by others as a troublemaker. Then came the legal storm. 6 boys, including Derek, filed assault charges against her. Twisting the narrative, suddenly Kesha was the one on trial. Not just in a courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. Sitting across from her mother and lawyer, Kesha wrestled with fear and anger. How do I defend myself when the system seems rigged against me? Will they believe the truth? Can I face this without breaking? She spent long nights rehearsing her testimony, clinging to every shred of courage. The support messages kept coming, from students, parents, strangers moved by her story. But the pressure was crushing. At the trial, the prosecution painted her as a violent aggressor, while Kesha's defense revealed a tapestry of bullying, harassment, and resilience. Marcus Thompson, her quiet ally, stepped up to testify, his voice steady as he recounted Derek's relentless campaign of intimidation. One by one, witnesses told their stories, a chorus of truth drowning out the lies. When Kesha took the stand, her calm and measured words carried weight beyond her years. "I never wanted to fight," she said, "but I had no choice. I was protecting myself and others who couldn't protect themselves." The courtroom held its breath. After hours of testimony, the judge delivered her verdict. Not guilty on all charges. Relief crashed over Kesha like a wave, but she knew the fight was far from over. Back at school, the atmosphere shifted. Support. Groups formed. New policies were drafted. Kesha's self-defense program blossomed, empowering dozens of students. But Derek and his crew watched from the sidelines, their hatred deepening. The war for the school's soul had just begun, and Kesha was ready. As the final echoes of the courtroom's gavel faded, Kesha Williams felt a profound stillness settle over her. A quiet victory, not just for herself, but for every student who had ever been pushed down and told to stay silent. The battle had been brutal, exhausting, and at times isolating. But standing there, embraced by her mother and lawyer, she realized something greater had been won. This was more than just a legal win. It was a testament to courage, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of a young woman who refused to be defined by fear or hatred. Kesha had transformed from the quiet new girl into a beacon of hope and strength, proof that one voice, no matter how soft, could echo through the halls of injustice. Her journey taught us all a vital lesson. Silence in the face of bullying is not the only option. Standing up, whether through words, actions, or self-defense, is a powerful act of reclaiming dignity. It's a call to confront injustice with courage and to protect not only ourselves, but those around us. The community around Millbrook High began to change. Students found their voices. Support groups blossomed. School policies shifted from hollow words to real protections. Kesha's self-defense program flourished, offering tools, confidence, and a sense of belonging to those who had once felt powerless. But perhaps the deepest transformation was invisible, the shift in mindset. Fear gave way to empowerment. Division turned into unity. The message was clear. Strength is not about aggression, but about standing firm in the truth and protecting what matters most. As you watch this story unfold, ask yourself, what can you do in your own life to stand against bullying and injustice? How can you be the voice for those who feel unheard? If Kesha's story inspired you, share it. Talk about it. Let's create a community where no one is invisible and everyone knows their worth. Remember to subscribe for more powerful stories that shine a light on real struggles and triumphs. Hit the like button if you believe courage can change the world, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences. Your voice matters here. Together, we can turn silence into strength.